Masterclass. First off, I want to appreciate you for being a person who consistently invests in themselves, who actually follows through and completes processes, and ultimately gets the opportunity to reap the reward of where you're headed. So, a few things as we go to kick this Sleep Masterclass off. The first one is that ultimately there's some simple things that you can do that can really help your sleep, that don't affect your even timing of going to sleep, that don't affect the food you eat, the stress that you have. And so a few of those things are the temperature in your room. So one of the things that increases quality of sleep is your core body temperature being lower. And so one of the ways to do that is to simply lower the temperature of your house, or lower your heat at night, or sleep with the windows open, possibly, depending on the season. But lowering the temperature of your body can really help with quality of sleep. The next thing is sound. So abrupt sounds can wake you up, or can affect the staying in the deeper stages of sleep. So a couple of things that you can do are to either use like a white noise maker, or to just really try and soundproof your house, and avoid things that beep, avoid things that buzz. And then this goes back to whether or not to leave the windows open. The next thing is light. The darker the room, typically the better the quality of sleep. So light would be another aspect. A lot of people in the room, they have, beautiful curtains, but they're really not very good for actually sleeping. And I remember having this discussion with my wife when we first were, like debating what. So she got these white blinds, and they looked really nice, but ultimately they really didn't block out a lot of the light in the bedroom. And so invariably we ended up getting shades that went over those. So they were nice looking, but they actually accomplished the outcome, which is to get all light out of the bedroom. So in our room, it's, I'm going to say 100% dark, or nearly 100% dark. And that's done with blackout curtains. And then lastly is electricity, or Wi-Fi closer to your head. So for instance, sleeping with your phone next to your head is shown to decrease the quality of sleep. Also having large amounts of electricity, whether that's alarm clocks, which don't have a ton of electricity, but plugged in alarm clocks have a little bit, TVs in the room, depending on where you put your Wi-Fi, things like that. So simply like putting your alarm in the bathroom, or for instance, there are some very low cost, like this is an alarm clock that I bought on Amazon. It was less than $10. It's battery operated. The batteries have lasted almost a year now without having to change them, but it's very simple. It's simply, and it doesn't emit light. And so if you do have an alarm clock in your room, you want one that does not emit light, red or blue light, if you can help it. And so those are a few things that are, I'm going to say, very simple, but can really help with the quality of the sleep that you have. And so some of the things we're going to cover in the second masterclass are the things that can cause or influence sleep issues. Because, like we started with in the first one, by getting quality sleep, it's shown to do everything from reduce your risk of heart attack and stroke, help your body heal, which can help with things like cancer, but also, for so many people, just wanting to feel good, better quality of mood hormones. On top of that, things like sex hormones, whether it's testosterone or estrogen or different things, balancing of those, lowering of your cortisol levels, which is actually linked. So one thing that we didn't talk a lot about in the last one, but weight loss and blood sugar regulation are both linked to the quality of sleep. So when people are not sleeping enough, they tend to have more cortisol, which actually tends to have them retain or possibly even gain weight. So those are just a few reasons to really look at this, because when you think about, poor sleep, we in chiropractic first, if you've been there for a while and you've gone over multiple sets of x-rays, we frequently talk about, the dashboard on a car as the different warning lights, and different warning lights have different severities. They also are address different parts of the car, similar to different issues in your body are going to give different symptoms. But using the simplest example, if the check engine light comes on, you're not glad it came on, but in one aspect, because there's a problem and that you need to address it. But on the other hand, you'd much rather have the check engine light come on than to, have your engine explode or something like that. And so when you have poor sleep, that's something that really just affects the other aspects of your health. And so one of the first things to look at is something that we briefly mentioned in the first masterclass, but that is your sympathetic versus parasympathetic, or your fight or flight nerve system versus resting. So getting sleep, even meditating, taking a short nap in the middle of the day, all are ways to take your body out of fight or flight and put you back into the parasympathetic system, which is one of the reasons why, for instance, high stress jobs, they've actually shown people who tend to last longer in high stress jobs tend to actually take a nap or meditate in the middle of the day. It's something like 78% of CEOs take a nap or meditate. And I'm sure the statistics vary, the percentage varies depending on who's surveyed. But ultimately, something where maybe you're in sales, or maybe it's just your stress and your kids are in a lot of activities, but taking that time to rest even in the middle of the day, but also at night, are things that can really help to have take your body out of that sympathetic or your fight or flight and put back into rest and digest. And so, if you think about normal sleep is going to occur more frequently when your nerve system is functioning properly, when you're moving properly, when you're having less toxicity, things like that. But if you want to look at some ideas and some simple ideas for fixing poor sleep, the first thing is the basics, what most people know, how you move and how you eat. Exercise is frequently and in so many different studies linked to better quality sleep. And one of the reasons is sleep is where your body repairs. So for example, some of those, whether it's the rings or the Whoop watches or, Fitbits, these have become super, super popular and helped a lot more people achieve better qualities of health by tracking their sleep and also knowing how much to exercise. So that the Whoop watch, for example, will tell you how much you recovered and ultimately if you're ready to work out again, or if you're ready to have higher physical stress on your body. Additionally, eating, moving is the single largest energy consumer in your body, but the second largest is what you consume. So what you eat. So eating cleaner, eating, fruits, vegetables, lean meats, stuff like that, healthy fats, these things are going to digest easier in your body than a lot of processed foods, along with the chemicals, additives, preservatives. And so what you eat as well as when you eat, and we're going to cover when you should eat a little bit later in this seminar here. But one step is moving more frequently. People who exercise tend to have better quality sleep. Now, talking about when to eat, a lot of people focus on intermittent fasting and things like that, and really have found a lot of success in burning more fat, eating healthier with something like an intermittent fasting schedule. But, two parts, not only when to eat, but what to eat. There's different studies, but at the very minimum, you want to stop eating and drinking an hour before bed if you're able to. The best research that I've seen says that you should be done eating 3 hours before you go to sleep and done drinking 1 hour before you go to sleep. So again, I'm going to say that 3 hours before you sleep, stopping to eat, 1 hour before you go to sleep, stopping to drink, to allow your body to not have to spend energy metabolizing in the middle of the night. And also your body does metabolize slower. And then as far as drinking goes, ideally not waking up in the middle of the night nearly as frequently. Additionally, carbohydrates at night are shown to throw off brainwaves and affect sleep. So refined carbohydrates, sugary, sweets, even something like juice or higher glycemic fruits, those are much better for you in the morning. Your body can use them as fuel much more efficiently in the morning than at night. Typically at night, any unused carbohydrate is going to be converted into body fat. And so that's not ideal. Caffeine, we already mentioned, but to reiterate it, because it is such a chronic problem. And you even hear people say, I can drink a pot of coffee at night and sleep just fine. And I in one aspect, that's true. But in the other aspect, caffeine has a 5 to 6 hour half-life, depending on how fast you metabolize it. It stays in your system for up to 12 hours. So in the morning, caffeine could be debated. Evening or afternoon caffeine does affect the depth and quality of sleep. Similarly to alcohol and THC. So THC gummies are super, super popular. I know in the state of Illinois now, THC is legal. You can buy it without a medical card and so on. And there's a lot that are formulated specifically for night. And there are people that would state that they do feel like they sleep better, they sleep through the night. But as we talked about in the first one, it does affect trauma processing. But alcohol, while it might make you tired, in fact, it's a depressant, it should make you tired. It also has a similar reaction to carbohydrates where it tends to wake you up in the middle of the night and you don't get into the deeper resting, restorative, reparative sleep. So drinking alcohol before bed both decreases your ability to recover. So for instance, in athletes, I'm friends with and have tracked quite a bit of research on workouts and recovery, winning the recovery battle. Like if you guys talk to Dr. Adam, you probably hear him. You might have heard him say this, but I hear him say it frequently, like win the recovery battle. So a lot of people know how to work out, but they don't have as good a habits around recovery. And recovery is a big part of being your body building muscle and getting the benefits of exercise versus breaking down potentially with too much exercise. A couple of my friends are CrossFit gym owners, and they both use that Whoop watch. And they talk about even like a couple glasses of wine with dinner will radically decrease their recovery and their ability to have as strong of a workout the next day. So alcohol and THC can really limit recovery. So ideally, working out is of course good for you, and also the timing. So working out in the morning, or you can work out in the evening, but you want to have several hours for your body to cool down. In past seminars I've talked about years ago, pre-COVID, and even the first year after COVID when they brought it back, but there were, I've played in some of the city league basketball leagues and their evening leagues, and it takes my body, 90 minutes to 2 hours after a game to calm down enough to be able to sleep. So the game ends at 9 o'clock when I normally be in bed at 9 o'clock. Now it's hard for me to fall asleep before, for instance, 11 o'clock. And so part of that is exercise raises your body temperature. And so that's good for killing off viruses. It's good for your immune system. It's good for a lot of different stuff, but it's not great for sleep. So exercise in the morning is linked to sleep. The next thing, sunshine. So vitamin D and serotonin. So for instance, that sleep and mood supplement that we talked about previously, that's probably my favorite supplement to try if you're struggling to fall asleep or stay asleep. So there's 3 different supplements, and I'll go over them more a little bit later. But sleep and mood is the one that I would try. It's one of those that you don't take forever. You take it for seasons. So maybe you take a couple bottles of it, then you try and cycle off it. But sleep and mood has melatonin, which, any of our supplement seminars focus more on this, but as a reminder, a lot of people think they've tried melatonin for sleep, and most people frankly haven't, because their sleep, they're taking melatonin. It's one of those supplements where over 90% of it's estimated to be useless. It's either been overprocessed or it's poorly labeled or whatever. So if you think you've tried melatonin, but you bought it from, GNC, or you bought it from Walgreens or Walmart or something, you probably have never actually tried melatonin. The other thing is there's a range. Most people, for quality sleep to fall asleep, which is what melatonin is more for, it's about 1.5 to 3 milligrams. And I think I'm using the right label, milligrams versus, some of the other ones, but it's that range. And so if you take too much, it can actually be negative. If you don't take enough, you might not notice it. But also the other thing about sunlight, and so many people do work inside, and even when they're outside, they wear sunglasses. Your body uses the daylight to gauge how much melatonin to produce. And so if you're not outside, or if you're wearing sunglasses when you're outside, your body may inefficiently produce its own melatonin. Also, people that chronically chronically take melatonin, the supplement, it's one of those supplements that they don't, they can actually affect their body's ability to produce it, similar to testosterone if you take that, or SSRIs with serotonin, or a variety of other things. But so getting outside and letting your eyes be exposed to direct sunlight is one of the things that can actually later in the day help with sleep. There are, when you think of things that have worked or stood the test of time, there's likely, they probably didn't know why, but there's likely things like certain religions where you pray at sunrise and sunset. Well, you're exposing your eyes to that light. So it can affect, your mood. It can affect your connection. It can affect, a whole bunch of things. But quality and direct sunlight is a big deal. Also, I'll tell you, our Max Living Advanced Plan, anybody that's a current client and that doesn't know what the advanced plan is, pretty well shows that they haven't skimmed through the book, or they haven't been to one of our nutrition seminars. But the advanced plan in its simplest form is low carb, high healthy fat, moderate protein eating, likely the best way to eat over the long term. And so ideally more and more of your meals go to that. But I said that in a way that's meant to be challenging, because part of getting quality sleep goes back to this, not just knowledge, but self-education, and then into action, putting it into action. And so in both the mini books that we have now that are available or have been given to clients for the last year or so, as well as, depending on when you started, the first book that we ever gave out was called Cruise Ship or Nursing Home, which had the advanced plan in it. And then the Align Your Health book would be another book that had the advanced plan in it. But ultimately, eating that lower carb, high healthy fat, moderate protein is shown to lower your inflammation. It's got tons of vitamins and minerals when you eat that way, with the lots of vegetables and healthy meats and all those things, and really is linked. And people who consume more along the advanced plan very much tend to have better quality of sleep. The polar opposite of that would be especially either bad, like deep fried fats, or specifically refined carbohydrates, pizza crusts, lots of bread, pastas, rices, things like that. And so, like I mentioned earlier, if you're looking for some simple supplements to try, one would be Sleep and Mood, which has the herb 5-HTP. It's got the right amount of melatonin, and it really helps to both fall asleep and stay asleep. And it's also good for mood because the herb 5-HTP helps you make more serotonin. Max Greens is dehydrated or mostly organic, nearly completely organic vegetable juices, and stevia and the correct flavorings and all the stuff that goes with it. And it's just kind of one of those things where Max Greens has so many reasons that it helps with sleep that it would belabor a point to go through them all. And then the last thing is a high quality source of magnesium. So Max Living, currently the best product that we offer is called magnesium glycerate. The most common type of magnesium is called magnesium citrate. It's cheap. It doesn't absorb very well, not near as effective. Magnesium glycerate is easier for your body to bind. And so that's the one that you want to use most consistently, or a blend of several types of magnesium. But magnesium, it's estimated that well over half of Americans, and some studies show as much as 90% of adult Americans, are magnesium deficient for a variety of reasons, but specifically the American diet, medication consumption that causes your body to burn magnesium, and our food supply itself, because of more synthetic or artificial fertilizers that are put on crops. Magnesium is chronically being depleted from the soil. So it's estimated, for example, like an apple would have half as much magnesium as it did 50 or 60 years ago. So magnesium consumption at night helps to relax the muscles, can relax your arteries, can help you get more quality and deeper sleep. So if you need an action step, taking a simple supplement may be an action step. Next thing I want to go through is the nighttime routine. So we talked about this in the first seminar, getting off your phone, avoiding blue lights. But there's a couple other things, which is letting your brain rest, giving it something to solve, and also sorting out your micro traumas of the day. So for instance, If you're waking up between 1 and 3 at night, something like journaling before you go to bed, not having overstimulation. So for instance, watching very intense television or even reading a very intense book, can throw off your sleep. Fiction books, there's an argument. This is the one time that, right, fiction might be recommended, I guess, that would help calm your brain. Like I said, reading, journaling, reading your Bible, anything that just calms your mind, dimming the lights, just really getting rid of stimulation helps your body be more ready for bed. And so having a routine. Another thing about evening routines is the closer you get to going to bed at the same time and getting up at the same time helps your body establish your circadian rhythm. And ideally, the ideal situation is the closer to the sun's rhythms, the better. I know, again, in Northern Illinois, especially in the winter, the second half of the year, the winter part of the year, tough to go to bed for 11 hours or something like that. But sunrise and sunset, so getting up earlier, especially in the summer, but really trying to go to bed and get up as close to the same times as possible. Now, another thing that you may not know about, but warm water is really good for sleep. So for instance, in the book, Why We Sleep, it talks about that while a lot of people will get up in the morning and they'll jump right in the shower, that a hot shower or a hot bath actually can make you feel more sleepy. It does not wake you up as much as people might think. But so this is why some people shower or bathe at night, is that heat can relax, but different than exercise, it doesn't keep your body temperature raised for nearly as long. And so if you're somebody who struggles to fall asleep, doing a warm or hot bath or shower at night can really help have you go to sleep. Next thing, and I mentioned this already, so we're not going to spend as much time on this, but removing the interference. So one of the things that is shown with chiropractic care, and especially in our modern era, is that so many people are stiff and rigid, and they have very poor posture. So if you have poor posture, especially the rounded back or the stuck forward head, from like forward head posture, looking down at your cell phone, or typing on the computer all day, or any job that's really forward. A lot of times that rigidity, your fight or flight nerve system, if you get stuck in the middle part of your back, especially, that can leave you stuck in what's called a sympathetic response, or your fight or flight nerve system. So, for instance, getting adjustments and removing the neurologic interference helps to calm the body, which is why everything from blood, chiropractic's been linked to better quality sleep, blood pressure dropping, and so lower inflammation in so many different ways, because ultimately it allows your body to go into more rest and digest. And it's just so good for you. Now, physical stress is one thing, and maybe most people don't think about this as physical stress, but sitting for more than 3 hours a day is physical stress and very negative on your body. Now, also mental stress. They talk about it. We're in an era where there's just a flat out overstimulation of your neurology. I mean, even depending on your age, think about if you go back 30 years, having a house phone versus having a cell phone, or having a cell phone that wasn't a smartphone, where you had to click 3 times if you wanted it to be a C or an F, or things where you didn't send long text messages. You didn't chronically have beeping that stimulated you, along with social media and all the different things. And there's huge amounts of research showing the negative impact of mental stress, the amount of anxiety and depressive disorders, the sleep disturbances, but also getting off social media. But sleep causes, or stress, mental stress causes or can cause just as much adrenaline release as physical stress does. And when adrenaline gets released, over time, it keeps you overstimulated, and overstimulation decreases quality of sleep, decreases healing, can cause the burnout of what are called your adrenal glands, which are your stress hormone response glands. And so, anything you can do to periodically, whether it's a screen detox, whether it's, you hear about people like putting their phone in the kitchen and plugging in and not getting on it at the end of the night, a whole variety of things. And also avoiding social media. These things can really help with the mental, but stress affects your body. Next thing, right sleeping position. I get asked this super frequently. How should I sleep? And then the next thing I typically get asked is, okay, so if I can't sleep that way, how should I sleep then? Because, for many people, and it's hard, maybe you can't see this, but there's a bunch of jokes like the starfish, the squirmer, the different, sleep types. But the ideal situation is to sleep flat on your back, either without a pillow or with those foam rolls that you should have received as part of your home care kit in the office. So laying on your back, ideally sleeping on those, or putting, if you're a back sleeper, the thinnest pillow possible underneath you. The more your head is jammed forward, the worse it is for your sleep. And it also affects your airway. So, things like sleep apnea, that can be affected by the way your head position is at night. And this is why chiropractic, weight loss or getting your head back can help with sleep apnea, but also chiropractic adjustments are linked to sleep apnea improvement, because it helps your head extend back, which gets more air into your lungs. And so that's one aspect of it. But many people, including myself, I do not stay asleep all night on those rolls. And so I'll pull a thin pillow in from behind the head. Also, some people are side sleepers. So if you're a side sleeper, the next most ideal position would be to have the pillow with the weight of your head on it to be as thick as your shoulder. Also then to either put a pillow between your knees or keep your knees somewhat together, not to like really throw your leg all the way over, because that torques your hips and can be really hard on your spine. As you know, while children, it may be okay at young ages to sleep on your stomach, it's pretty well universally shown that sleeping on your stomach is not good for you as an adult. And so, getting a body pillow or doing things that help you work away from that sleep position. But the best quality sleep is going to be on your back with your head extended back, or on your side in a more neutral position. All right, so let's talk action steps. And I'm going to rattle through a whole variety of them. But remember, information that just turns to knowledge is almost useless, because you need to turn it into action to get the result. And so as I go through these action steps, the second mystery word is heals. Second mystery word is heals. But this slide says 30 days to amazing sleep. So think about some simple stuff. What can you do? Unplug 30 minutes before bed. No phones in the bedroom. Can you get a clock like this? Black out your sleep sanctuary. Wake up at the same time each morning. Lower your bedroom temperature. One thing that we didn't cover a lot, but making your bed or having organization or decluttering your room. Eliminating caffeine, especially in the afternoon. No sugar or alcohol within a couple hours of bedtime. Exercising either 10 minutes daily, or having an exercise routine. They've shown about 150 minutes of exercise seems to be kind of the sweet spot for best sleep over the course of a week, not in a day, but over the course of a week. So that's about 2.5 hours of exercise. Taking a supplement to help with sleep, whether that's magnesium glycerate, sleep and mood, or the Pure Path Max greens. And then of course, getting adjusted. All these things help you get better sleep, which adds longevity and quality to your life, can lead to everything from better hormones to better feeling, to more energy, to better looks, to so many things. So I hope you found this to be very helpful. I hope you've applied it. If you have something that you're applying, feel free to leave a comment about what you're applying, and we'd love to celebrate it with you either online or in the office. Have a very blessed